Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life.
Welcome, everyone. Today, we are so excited to welcome Dr. B.J. Magnani, internationally recognized toxicologist, educator, and the mind behind Dr. Lily Robinson Thrillers. I'm very excited to learn more about her books and also excited to talk about the fact that her and author Matt Cost, that you've seen numerous times on Big Blend Radio, will be joining us every third Thursday with their new podcast called Pets, Plots, and Poisons. I can't wait for it. But go to BJ's website. It's bjmagnani.com. It is linked in the episode notes. Welcome, BJ. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
This is exciting. I'm excited about the new podcast, and I know you and Matt will kick it off the third Thursday of August, so everyone stay tuned for that. But we want to get to know you a little bit better here on Big Blend Radio. But let's start in the world of toxology. I know you educate, you write books. I mean, you've done so much in it, and I think you're one of the top 100 women in the world of chemistry, or is it actual toxicologist? What is going on behind that?
I'll give you a little bit of a background. Yes,
Yeah.
I am actually trained as a pathologist, and my specialty is toxicology. So
Okay.
that's my thing. And yes, several years ago, when this, I guess it was a magazine or whatever, came out or a journal or something in toxicology, sorry, in pathology, they named the top 100 pathologists in the world. It was part of that, and I was really honored to be a part of that. So
That's
yes.
amazing. Tell everybody a little bit of the difference between pathology and toxology because they do hold hands, but they're two different things.
Okay, so pathologists are doctors, they're physicians
Okay.
who study disease and make a diagnosis through learning what cells have to tell us, what fluids tell us. We do biopsies, we look at gross organs that might be removed from the body to help again diagnose what the disease is. But what you don't think about, I mean, I think when most people think about pathology, they are influenced by television. Oh, it's the ghoul in the basement doing the autopsies. Yes, we do autopsies because we want to provide closure and information on what was the cause of death for that person. But what you don't realize is you've got a sore throat, Lisa, and your doctor takes a specimen. We tell your doctor what kind of bug it is and what antibiotics will grow against that. Well,
Hmm.
to kill it. We are the people in the blood banks who give blood when blood needs to be issued in emergencies. We do genetics testing. We do any kind of lab testing you can think of. You have a sugar problem, we're testing that. You want to see how your tumor's doing, and we use certain markers, we do that. So we are sometimes called the doctor's doctor because
Mm.
we help advise them on how to treat you. Toxicology is a
I'm sorry,
branch.
but that's so cool though, because you get to hang out with the microscopes. That was my favorite toy
Oh, yeah.
growing up was the microscope. I wanted to put everything in there and it didn't do everything I wanted. I wanted like a giant one, like put the whole plant under there.
I know. Well, they have stereoscopes for that. No, I love the microscope too, but in toxicology, it's not so much about microscopes. It's
Oh,
more about what kind of medications do we need to monitor for someone? What kind of drugs will cause adverse reactions, poisonings, that kind of thing. So I had actually a consultation service where we would see people who were admitted to the hospital and maybe were the victim of some kind of a overdose, not necessarily, fentanyl or whatever, but we don't know what it was. So we would be asked to come in and solve those problems and see those patients. It's a really fascinating field. I love poisons, toxins, and all kinds of drugs that are out there.
yeah. That is so fascinating. And I love the fact too that you're a woman in science. And I think sometimes we need to kind of bang the pots and pans around that because even science gets a bad name nowadays and it's wrong because I mean, don't go to a doctor that, you know what I mean? So it's so important. And I love to see women, excel in these fields.
No, I do too. And in fact, I've taken a lot of interest in mentoring young women in
Oh,
the field. And I was chair of my department, which was very unusual in the hospital that I worked in Boston. We had 19 chairs, and almost all except me were men. So it was very interesting. And as a way to move forward, a lot of the Boston hospitals, particularly the one that I worked in, now has many women in leadership roles. And I really, really love to see that. It's great.
Yeah, because I think it used to be so much like women were just nurses. And I don't want to say just as in putting down
Yes.
nurses, but it was always, and I think nurses are like they're angels in the medical world. They
Yes. They're
really are.
fabulous.
Yeah, they can they're saving grace of making a patient feel better when maybe they're going through something really hellacious, you know?
I agree. I agree. My mother was a nurse, so I have
Ah,
great appreciation for nurses.
and there's men nurses these days too, which never used to be. So it's kind of an interesting, blend of things changing up. So it's exciting. But what led you into writing novels and thrillers? And tell us a little bit about Lily.
Okay. Well, I have an interesting start, I think, on how I got into this because as a scientist, I wrote mostly scientific articles.
Mm.
I have book chapters and have edited, reference textbooks, and my most of my writing was scientific. But in 2008, the editor in chief of the journal Clinical Chemistry, which is a worldwide journal, came to me and he said, BJ, I'd like to do something different in the journal. He said, how about we have a fictional character that uses poisons to kill people, he said, and then we can use it as a way to teach people about these different toxins and poisons. You create the character, you make up a story, and we'll run it in the journal under a separate section, called the clinical chemist. Anyway, I thought, why me? He said, you can do this. I know you can create a character to do it. I created Dr. Lily Robinson for the journal. So I wrote under a pen name as Dr. Lily Robinson for a year. And what I would do is create a very short story in the journal. She would be on a mission. She would poison naturally some very horrible person that deserved it. And then after that journal was after that issue was published, the next issue I would write how she did it and then give everybody a tutorial on the poison. Now, meanwhile, after the first story would go out, people from all over the world would write in what their guess was. They were encouraged to write in, try and guess what poison she used. And then they would pick like the winner out of a hat, give them a certificate to the bookstore. And then, as I said, in the next issue, I would write what's called recollections. And I would speak in the first person as Lily and say, this is what I did and this is how I used it. And now I'm going to tell you all about the chemistry.
Wow.
Yeah. So this went on for over a year of me just writing the stories every other month with the recollections alternating. And then the following year, sometime in, I think it was maybe in the summer, they were having a big convention in Los Angeles and they were going to do the reveal. Who
Oh,
was the pathologist slash toxicologist who was writing under Dr. Lily Robinson's name? And what's
wow.
fun, yeah, I was going to say what's funny about it is when I was working, I wore a lot of stiletto heels to work. And Lily also wore stiletto heels. So there was sort of this buzz in the clinical chemistry, community, like, who do we know who likes stiletto heels? It was fun.
You can always change a girl's mind by shoes. Like, whenever anything's going wrong, change your shoes. What do you think about that? Change your shoes, it changes your day.
Love shoes. I have a huge
Oh,
collection of shoes, fancy shoes that I wish I could wear them all now. But now that I mostly work from home, I don't wear
mm,
the high heels that
yeah,
much anymore.
and they're a good weapon.
That's how stilettos actually got their name, right? Because the stiletto knife is a very thin blade and the stiletto heel is a very thin heel. And you can actually pick it up and use it as a weapon.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have such a good podcast. This is fun. Did Dr. Lily Robinson ever write about the stilettos in any of them?
She has had special shoes in the books, where there's a little mechanism that she can activate that allows a poison in the tip of the heel to come out, and she's used that. Yeah, it's fun.
Oh my gosh, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. How many books have been published now in the series?
So there are 4 novels that go together as the series. Then the collection of short stories from the journal were put
Okay.
together in a book called Lily Robinson and the Art of Secret Poisoning. But then the four novels that came after were, the first one was The Queen of All Poisons, then The Power of Poison, A Message in Poison, and We'll Always Have Poison. Those are the
Oh,
titles of the four books.
wow. And what led you to go, okay, I'm going to jump from this into a novel? What was that thought and
Yeah.
then like I'm going to make this a reality?
Well, as I said, the series was kind of popular in the journal, and I put together the short stories with an additional story for the anthology of her,
Mm-hmm.
adventures. And people liked it, but it was the kind of thing where if you were into science, you got it, because there are all these medical terms and science terms and chemistry terms. But for the regular layperson, not
Yeah.
so much, that was tough. So I had people say to me, why can't you just write a book and not put all that science in it? Make it a
Yeah.
little bit more layperson friendly. So I wrote The Queen of All Poisons. I tried to incorporate a few of the old stories in there just to sort of, reminisce. And there's still science in all the books because I love writing about it.
Mhm.
But now it's, either she's explaining sometimes particular terms to another character, or, there's just not so much that it's overwhelming.
Does it help open doors when for people because sometimes with scientific terms, you just kind of shut down, when it becomes really complex, does it help people open their mind a little bit by having a character talk and have it be fiction for them to kind of put their toes in science if they had that kind of natural like that's just too much for my brain mode?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I loved about reading, for example, Michael Crichton, is I always felt I
Hmm.
learned something when I read his books because they were well researched. He brought interesting things in there, and then he stretched it a little bit for the tale. And I'm hoping that if you read my books, you learn a little bit about medical things, a little bit about science, not overwhelming. But, I put real medical cases in there that I've had. I change things around to protect, obviously, a patient identity. But Lily Robinson is essentially a pathologist who has a job at the hospital, sees patients. That's really her day job. She's only been commandeered by the government to go on these very extraordinary missions to either eliminate a terrorist group or someone, some bad actor. And that's her sort of side job, if you will. So I had actually someone, it was a review, someone who wrote a review who said she recognized a disease, a disorder in one of my characters that she also had.
Wow.
And she thought that was so interesting to read about it in the book.
That's cool. That's so cool. Well,
Yeah.
it's also the interesting thing about what you do with toxology is that you're also looking at what shouldn't be put together. Like when you think about when back in the day, I mean, I think they have compound pharmacists, is that what they're called? That help,
Yes.
like, hey, you're already taking this, you shouldn't be taking that. You know what I mean? It's not good for your body. Like I know my grandfather was on like 50 medications, and I'm not exaggerating. Like seriously, and they put him on narc. He had emphysema and pulmonary kind of heart thing, and
Fibrosis, maybe, or
yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah. I think so. He was, he worked in a cement factory at one point in his life,
Oh.
and it you know, wasn't good for him. But he would be at this point where he couldn't walk and then all of a sudden go into a rage and throw a couch across the room. This is what
Ooh.
happened with him. He was one of the first people they used acupuncture to do
Oh.
heart surgery. And they were rocking him back and forth. It was televised. The whole thing was crazy. But what we've always talked about in our family is the importance of knowing, like, how many pills are you taking? Are they contradicting each other? Do they become a poison to your body later? And back in the day, it was we needed you more,
Yes. It's
So
it's true that now we have computers that can look for medication interactions. So, and the reason this is important because certain medications will stimulate specific enzymes, let's say in your liver, so that they can metabolize the drug. And other drugs, right, other medications can suppress those very same enzymes. So you might take one drug that's stimulating something that you don't want stimulated or suppressing something that you don't want stimulated. In the old days, you had to hope that your pharmacist might be able to recognize those drug-drug interactions. Now it's all kind of automated and the computer does it, but you're absolutely right. I would see a patient. In fact, I remember a case I had where a patient was taking a particular medication. She went on another drug, which suppressed the enzyme that
Oh,
helped metabolize the first drug. And so, since the first drug wasn't breaking down, the levels kept getting higher and higher and higher, and the patient had a seizure as a
ooh,
result of the very much increased dose. So we had to come in and say, "Oh my goodness, the reason this concentration went up so high on the first medication is
mhm.
because the second one was suppressing what normally would have broken it down." And that's a puzzle that we get to solve.
Oh, and so now in your novels, are there things like, hey, put these two medications together? Somebody may be on like ABC pills, whatever, and let's mix them together because that will be like a dirty concoction that could kill or
Oh, you
thing.
could do that. You could do that. What Lily likes to do and what I like best are what we call natural toxins. So rather than
Oh,
use a drug like, that you might have, which
hmm.
we can still use. I mean, how about something that's secreted by a plant or
Oh,
by a frog or by a snail or something? I mean, those are interesting and obscure things that Lily finds a way, and they're always these. I don't want to give anything up in the books because a lot
right.
of the delivery mechanism, which is very stealthy, you know what I mean? That's part of her technique. She finds what might be a medical weak point in her target and exploits it. So if you have a kind of a known heart condition, she might go for a heart toxin. If you've got something neurological, maybe we'll go there.
Prey on the weak spot.
Yeah, make it
Oh,
look like it's
one.
natural.
Oops, I went walking in the field, fell down, touched a frog. Oopsie, bye-bye. And then someone whacks you over the head with a stiletto and that's it. Now you're really gone. Well, this is so fun. Do you have another one coming out soon or can ask about that? What's happening on
Well,
on the next?
yeah, I have a couple of things cooking. So the 4-book series is kind of complete. You could read that as one thing.
Oh, cool.
I am working on another Lily novel. I started at the same time another novel which doesn't involve Lily, but it's another sciency thing that I love writing about, these kind of where you can do twists and imagine what might happen if you bend science just a little bit. So I'm working on that. And then I'm not going to say what, but I do have another book that's out this summer, but it's not written under my name. And I'm not admitting to it because it's in a completely different genre, and we'll keep it.
Now I really want to know. So you're a mystery author, See? I want to know now.
Well, that one is just going to we're going to see how it goes. It's
Okay.
under a nom de plume.
Okay. Well, everyone's got to do that at one point.
Yeah, we're just
It's a good
testing the
thing.
waters.
All right, that's good. Did you put anything in the water? I'm scared of you. Be careful. Be careful if you go to BJ's house for cocktails. Anything could happen in there.
That's what
Cocktails
everybody says.
is it, and it's mostly women have always used poison more than men, right? Has that been
True,
our thing?
true. Well, I mean, think about it. It's not as messy as a lot of other things.
Mm.
I mean, if you
Extreme
stab someone or a bullet to the head, that makes a bigger
obvious.
mess. If you poison someone, it can be relatively, clean.
This is fun. Oh, I cannot wait for this series. I really can't. This is going to be such a cool podcast with you and Matt. It's
I have to say that one of the things, just a couple of things on my website, I do a poison blog. So you
cool.
can read about what I'm currently thinking in terms of what's out there in poisons, what you need to be aware of, because there are things you might know.
Hmm.
Like, for example, I have one on spring cleaning. And what do you know about the brown recluse that might be hiding under the clothes in the closet, or the black widow spider in the wood pit shed? I have ones on the poisons the Russians like to use. I have ones on spider, another spider series, frogs, plants, very different things that lay people can really read and go, wow, I didn't know about that. It's kind of fun.
Well, the spider thing's crazy. I've been bitten by spiders in all of, and it's not fun. Don't touch your spider bite. That's what I'm going to say. Don't touch it. I have a friend who got bitten by a brown recluse,
They can
and
be nasty.
and she decided not to do anything about it. And then she had to go and get surgery, and it affected her neurological parts of her leg because it was on her leg, It did some
Wow.
serious damage, and and it took about a year and a half to be able to start walking properly again after it.
That's amazing. Yeah, but I'm not
I mean,
surprised, but yeah.
yeah, drown, and they're little, you know what I mean? So, no, no. And spiders do freak people out. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they're the symbol of writers, of actual writing and weaving a web of story. So spiders are storytellers. So they go
True.
hand. I know you probably have one hanging right above you now. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of living with them.
All right, all right. So now, are you ready for a little fun? This is,
Okay.
you know, how we introduce our experts to Big Blend Radios. We ask
Uh-oh.
silly questions. Are you good with that?
I'll try my best.
Okay. First one is, what do you think is your spirit animal?
I definitely think it's a bird or a cat.
Well, or both. Bird in the cat's mouth?
I hope not.
Okay, a
No.
bird or a cat. Okay, why? Why do you think?
Free spirits, both of them, very individual, can do anything in the sense of, don't mind me. I'm going where I want to and I'm going to do what I want. So I think I'm sort of that kind of a person.
I like it. I like it. Now, you talked about being a mentor, right? In the writing world, what would you give in advice to someone getting started?
Say that it takes a long time to hone your craft and don't give up. I think persistence is key. I think also asking other people for help is so important. And there is a community out there of writers that are more than happy to help guide you, offer advice, and shepherd you on your journey.
Yeah, I like that. I agree. Agree. It doesn't have to be solitary, right?
Right.
Even though it is solitary. Okay, so we have a channel, a podcast channel called Garden Gossip, and we like to garden, right? And so, you know, we have our Big Blend Media House. So when you go into our gardens in our virtual house, you can listen to the gardening podcast. And one of our favorite questions over the years on this podcast is, you know, we want gossip. If you could go and stay in anyone's house anywhere in the world, say for a weekend, whose house do you want it to be? It could be like a castle, it could be a yurt somewhere. I don't know. It could be anyone's house, but whose house would it be?
Well, I'm not sure who'd be living there, but I wouldn't
No, they're
mind.
going away. Yeah, you're taking it over.
No, but what I mean is, like, I'd love to live in a castle in France for a little while.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know who might have that castle in France, but I think that would be fabulous. I love
On a hill.
on a hill. I love all things French. One of my characters
Oh,
in the Lily Robinson series is a Frenchman. You know, Jean Paul. So, and I think it would be fun to live in a big old castle with beautiful gardens.
cool. And then you can check out what poisonous plant is in the garden.
Well, Lily Robinson has a poison garden. And in fact, I had a poison garden myself. I love plants. Behind me, that
Mm-hmm.
way is monkshood, which
Oh,
is conatine, is the poison from there. It's also known as the queen of all poisons. It's also known as wolfsbane. Maybe you know it by that,
yes,
monkshood or
yes.
wolfsbane.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So imagine we could have foxglove, we could have monkshood, we could have lily of the valley, we could have, there's
Oh, I
so
love
many
Lily of the Valley.
I know so many gorgeous flowers we could have in our poison garden.
I want a poison garden. We have to do a show just on poison gardens. You have to come on Garden
I
Gossip. Let's do that.
I
Oh my
had
gosh.
one, a 12 by in a 12 by 12 chain link fence, one of those like pens
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And I grew everything I could that would be poisonous, that would last in New England or some things you had to bring inside. But some things you don't think
Mm.
about as like people will grow foxglove. They don't realize that it's
Oh yeah,
a
it's bad.
poisonous plant. But I mean, even things like morning glories or, tomatoes have a particular kind of toxin in them. But I tried to grow as many things. It was fun. It was beautiful.
I love it. Now, what do you think about carnivorous plants?
Well, not my favorites. I mean,
You-
certainly like a Venus flytrap or,
Even the
like
pitcher plants
a
are
pitcher
trip.
plant or something. Yeah, they're okay. I mean, that's how they get their protein. But I like plants that can make toxins that either become useful medicines or useful poisons
Yeah.
to do. People been using them over centuries, right?
Watch out for
Years.
those purple berries, as they say. It's true, it's like some of the most beautiful plants are the most dangerous ones. Same as
I know.
animals, right?
I
It's
know.
like watch out for the beauty. It's yeah, and watch out for the berries. You never know. And fungus, that's my thing. I have a thing about, well, because we're out in the Smoky Mountains a lot, and in
Yeah,
like right now the Cumberland Valley, and like right now there's all these this. I'm obsessed with fungus and
I do.
mushrooms and slimes. Slimes is a whole other deal. That is cool stuff. Like there is one called, I think it's dog barf slime or dog sick slime.
I've
It's,
seen that. Yes.
isn't it a trip? I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's cool, but other
Yeah.
people maybe not so much. But those, I mean, you better, I know people go mushroom harvesting all the time, and I'm too scared to eat any of it because.
Full of blogs on mushrooms, the Amanita
Oh,
species, for example. Oh yeah, you should read those.
I will.
Big source of liver transplant because the Amanita toxins will kill your liver, and some people you get again mistake them for other things, and next thing you know, they're dying. Lilies use those too, by the way.
This is such a fun conversation. This is fantastic. Okay, so this is a fun one. We're going to put a time capsule in the front of the Big Blend Media House, and it's going to be opened in 500 years. What are you putting in there?
I want to put a lot of historic things related to our time in politics. I want to put some newspaper things. You know what else I want to put in? I want to put our cell phones because I think we need to have a cell phone to see so that people open it up and see what that was like. I would want to put in a couple of really good books that who knows if they're going to survive into the next century or hundreds of
Mm-hmm.
years, you know what I mean? So we could put a few stuff like that. I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting technological things that could go in there.
Aletta?
Oh, I could do stilettos. I have a really nice pair downstairs. We could put, yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I think time capsules are interesting. I don't know how they keep so that things keep. I mean, if they're cooled or anything, I need to do some time capsule research. It'd be a good place to bury a body.
We could, but then you're going to be digging it up in whatever
500 years.
500 years.
Well,
There'll be something. We
it'll
just
be a,
dug up one in my town. My
oh
town
yeah.
planted one in, I guess, 1976, and they just dug it up a couple weeks ago, like around July 4th or something. And I was kind of disappointed. It was mostly paper things from the town, oh, look how they had done this rebuilding and all that kind of stuff. But what was interesting is a child who had written a letter at the time and put it in the time capsule to the community was there as an adult 50 years later to read the letter she wrote as a child, which I thought was kind of cool.
That's special. That really
Yeah.
is. That's so cool. It's like finding a letter in the bottle that's gone across the
Yes.
ocean.
Yeah.
I've always loved that. That's cool. That's really cool. Now, what do you think aliens look like?
I think they're more going to look more humanoid than, I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but did you see or read Project Hail Mary
No,
by Andy Weir's that wrote the book? Okay, well maybe I won't give away the alien that was in the book or that they portrayed in the movie. I don't know. I think it might be more humanoid. So because I
why
think
not?
why
Yeah.
not? In this other book I'm writing is more of a kind of a space thing. Oh, you see Watson popping up now and then, and
Your
he's
cat?
popping up. Yeah,
Oh, there he is.
his
He
head
wants to
pops
be,
up in the
he
flowers.
has things to say about aliens.
you know. But the question is life out there, or is life out there and the reason we don't know about it is because they don't want to know us?
There's another idea. Your cat wants to know.
I
Dr.
know.
Watson, here he is. He's so cute. Animals are always welcome on our show. So that's it. If
Well,
people
he's
don't
part
like
of the
it,
pets
you
and
know,
poisons. I mean, we're
yeah.
talking about pets and poisons. I got a poisonous plant behind me and now a cat.
Okay, and we were talking about aliens, and so he was interested in the aliens, I think. Well, I
Yeah.
think, it's interesting about them being more humanoid is maybe they take over people's bodies as they're like born or something, or maybe we are aliens that come in different things. I think it's fascinating. And why not be humanoids? Because I mean, don't you think David Bowie was alien?
It could be.
It just
Do
could.
do you
Just
remember
hey,
do you remember the original Men in Black movie where at the end they show
yes,
you a couple of celebrities and they point out to them and say that they were aliens?
exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay, how are we doing on our questions? We've got one, two, three, four done. Okay. All right. So, what do you do for fun other than writing and all the science work and just to like put that aside and have a good time? What do you do to relax?
Okay. I do kayaking.
Cool.
I love birding, the
Oh,
traditional.
nice.
I have a spotting scope right out my back porch here,
Ooh,
and we've got fabulous birds. I live on a small island off the coast, and
nice.
so we see eagles in the winter,
Oh,
and I've got lots of hawks and osprey around and beautiful ducks and finches and you name it,
parents,
we got it. Yeah, it's
you get
fun
it. That is awesome.
like
And
that.
osprey. There's something about osprey. I love osprey
Yeah.
and how they circle, and that is cool to know. Okay, what is a bucket list item that you have on your list to complete within the next 3 to 5 years that you're really working on happening, other than the
Wha
castle in France?
The castle in France would be good. Well, this is a trip I've wanted to take. I planned this trip. I had the trip booked to
Oh,
Iceland, in Iceland,
very cool.
and, it was gonna be actually with Audubon, so you can imagine what we would see, okay? 2020, it got canceled because of COVID. I lost money, not from Audubon. Audubon was good. They actually repaid everybody, their deposits. But I lost money on the airlines. But I do still want to go there. I want to see the Northern Lights. And in this novel that I'm writing now, not the Lily novel, but the other novel about a
Hmm.
botanist and a geologist, they go to there. He's from Iceland
Okay.
and now they're up in Norway in the book, and the whole thing, they're gonna have a whole scene in there about the Northern Lights, but I wanna really experience it
Yeah,
myself, so I got to get there.
you have to. And there's cruise lines that do both, Iceland and Norway, all connected. And you could do like geothermal poisons. Seriously, I'm going to be thinking about poisons all day long,
Yeah,
just
there's just so much you can do with them.
yeah, just don't touch my cocktail or my wine at the end of the day.
Oh,
Just don't mess with that. But that is the Northern Lights. I have a friend who went and saw them and she stayed in it's like a see-through tent so that you can be lying out in the field in your tent and seeing the lights go
I
over
love
you.
that. Yeah, that'd be
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, that is awesome. Okay, I like your bucket list. That is cool. Now, you get invited to dinner. Oh, that's going to be fun to invite a toxologist over for dinner.
I swear I just
Toxicologist. There you go. You get invited over for dinner, and on your way there, you're like, oh no, I hope he or she does not make this. They know you're not allowed to have certain things, or if you've got allergies or whatever, but you're secretly hoping you don't have to put on a polite face and that maybe a dog is under the table going, I'll eat it for you. What is it that you do not want to be served at the table?
I don't eat red meat, so if they put red meat out there, I'm not gonna eat it.
You're not going to smile and pretend. Nope,
I won't touch it.
just never liked it.
No, I stopped eating. I used to love it,
Okay.
because, who didn't grow up with having hamburgers and steaks and wonderful things like
Hmm.
that? I'm not going to get into it, but once I understood more about, the pathology of the cow meat and all that kind of stuff, I said, nope, not doing it. So
You've
I stopped.
totally just grossed me out right now. I
I,
just
I
know
just
because I know it's no.
I just couldn't do it. Yeah, I have a couple of foods like that people ask me about. Like I used to dissect out nerves from frog legs for particular experiments, right, when I was a scientist. And not that it's popular in this country to eat frog legs, but they are
That
eaten.
do. Yeah.
Once I saw all the little parasites around the nerves because I'm under the microscope, I said, not going to do that. Then I worked on saxitoxin, which is a toxin that's found in shellfish. I don't eat raw shellfish. I love clam chowder, but I don't want to eat raw mussels. I don't want to eat raw oyster or vibrio toxins. It's funny how those things kind of cloud what you want to eat, right?
I don't eat seafood. We're allergic to it, so I'm kind of glad because I've always
Okay.
looked at it and gone, I don't. There's nothing in me that makes me want to eat it. Like lobster to me is like a giant scorpion, and I don't want to eat scorpion. You
I
know,
hear you.
It's like a no. I'm not I'm trying not to offend anyone on what they eat, but yeah. All right. Well, this is fun. This is totally cool. All right. So the other part
Good.
is out in at our Big Blend Media House, we're going to have what's called a giving tree. We have a gifting room, so we can go shopping and wrap things. But we have a giving tree outside because we want to shine a light on doing positive things or nonprofits and things like that of what we can do to make the planet better. So someone flies in and gives you $1 million and says, now you've got to do something good with this $1 million. What are you going to do with it?
It would really, if I won the lottery too, right? I'd want to feed the children in the world who are not getting enough food.
No red meat.
Well, if they want to eat it, it's okay.
I'm just kidding.
But
I'm just kidding. But no,
but,
I agree.
I'm just saying that,
Hmm.
I think I don't like the idea that there's food insecurity anywhere.
Yeah.
So I would wanna make sure that people, particularly children, had enough to eat because a growing child's brain, if we're gonna educate them, they need to have
Hmm.
food.
Yeah. A friend of mine who's passed, they created a foundation off of the work he was doing in Africa. And his whole thing was feed the child, clothe the child, then do education because they cannot get the education with that. If they're hungry, they're not going to learn, and they can't go to school without a uniform. So his family has taken that on and continued. Now they just got 25 students now that are fully funded for a
Oh,
year. Isn't that cool?
that's
I,
fabulous.
I mean, it's just little things that everyone does, but I think that's important. If you can help one child, you've done so much more. And you know, it
Right.
and we have food insecurity in this country
We
and
do,
food
we do.
deserts. Believe it or not, food deserts,
No, I know.
even in agricultural zones.
I know, it's important. I don't know if you know this, but one of the things that I do is, part of the proceeds from my books help fund a foundation called it's the College of American Pathologists Foundation, and they do a specific program which I ran in Boston for 5 years in a row. It's
Mm,
called See, Test, and Treat.
mm,
And many women in this country who either do not have insurance or have inadequate insurance, we made sure they were screened for cervical cancer and
mm,
breast cancer free of charge. Docs would get together. We put together a team. We would screen women. They could, let's say you didn't have childcare because you work during the week and you don't, it's sometimes it's
hmm.
hard for women to
Oh
get the
yeah.
care they need. So we set it up so if you had to bring your kid, we could watch them. We took care of you that day. We gave you the results the same day.
Wow.
And we tried to figure out where you needed to be in the medical system if it needed to go up the ladder, like we found a lump or we found some cervical, abnormality or something. It's a really great organization. And so I have made a donation from Dr. Lily Robinson's books to that foundation every
That's
year.
awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
It's on
And
my
just even the
website too.
education. Yeah, everyone, the link is in the episode notes for that. I think that is so important. The medical system's not easy. And women, I mean, Planned Parenthood has been, the defunding of things like that, which people don't
Yeah.
realize really help women, you know,
Yes.
on so many different levels. And so that is fantastic that you do that. Final one, BJ. What do you want in the Big Blend Media House? When you walk into our virtual house, because we have a library, of course. We
Ooh,
have a kitchen, we have gardens, and I'm gonna have to put a poison garden in.
we are definitely doing that. I'll
Yeah,
have
a
that.
lot of people have, yes,
Let's
with the
do
lamp, the
poison
leather
garden.
chair, a poison garden. We
Yes.
are okay. We're gonna do a garden gossip episode with you on creating a poison garden.
And I have to say, I've seen on the internet lately, I almost have to I don't wear t-shirts usually that have writing on them, but
Mhm.
there's one that's really great. It says, all plants are edible. And then it has a picture of plants. And then underneath it says, some only ones.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
I
No, I
love it.
love this. I mean, because I think about when we had Datura in our garden.
I love Datura. It's
Isn't it
great.
smell so good? It
Yeah.
is a healing plant too. It saved my mom. She pulled her back in the garden, had to crawl in the house, and we had a curandera, if I'm saying that right, on the show. He's an herbalist from Mexico on the show, talking about all these different herbal remedies and talked about the leaves of the datura. Now, do not
Mhm,
smoke it, people. We were living
mhm.
outside Joshua Tree National Park at that time. And every year, kids would go out in the desert and try to smoke the Jimson weed. and get airlifted out because you could die. And anyway, that's not what she did. She went in the bath, took a hot bath, took the leaves, put it in the bathtub. She stood up and she could walk and she was fine. She also had a shot of bourbon, but maybe you shouldn't mix those things. But she got up out of the bath like nothing happened to her. So I
It's the
stand
dose that
strong.
makes the poison, Lisa, right? It's the dose that makes
Oh,
the poison.
okay, we got to do the poison garden. This is the coolest thing ever. All right. Well, thank you so much, BJ. I can't wait for you and Matt to be together. Everybody, the third Thursday of every month starting in August 2026. Oh my gosh, we're going to have a good time. So watch for that, but also go to BJ's website, bjmagnani.com, and that is linked in the episode notes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.